what do you think about how internet plays a role? Because it's also going to help because I proposed this to my committee, my research committee, here in 3 weeks on May 16th. How do you think the internet's played a role in all this stuff like this? Did we fight like this before the internet? What do you guys think, man?
Man, I was fighting in the streets.
No, dude,
I don't know,
because
man.
you didn't constantly surround yourself with people you didn't agree with, and yo, I get it. Hey,
No,
you need to be open minded and just listen.
Man.
But dude, you should not listen to bullshit all day that bothers you.
Man, so true.
Like, okay, could you imagine being a police officer where every person you pull over fucking hates you? You can't tell me that doesn't have an effect on them. So,
absolutely,
like
man.
Psychologically,
Yeah.
my sister being she works at the Sedgwick County as a correction. She works at the she's a corrections officer.
Right.
Dude, her like the way she pictures those inmates, I've noticed like a change.
Right.
Like because they treat her like shit. They talk shit
right.
all day. She's a lot less remorseful.
That creates what's called an implicit bias. So she, anywhere she goes now, she'll probably see an inmate and she'll just in her brain she just looks at him at one way because she's developed that.
Well, it's
behavior,
like a low level PTSD.
It is. It's an implicit bias. So it's kind of like that. It's where you have subconscious reactions or subconscious biases towards individuals that you aren't aware of.
Well,
You know
your
what I mean?
group, that and your grouping, that's what your brain does, right?
Right,
It groups it. I always look at the brain like this is file C, which is humans, and then you put everybody into groups, man. You look at a person, and that's what your brain's supposed to do. Your brain's supposed to categorize. Like, that's how it works.
Stereotype.
Exactly. That's exactly what your brain does. It categorizes people so that you can instantly notice things, right?
Trust, you ain't gotta tell me. I have zero problem with stereotype. So
Right, because I mean, it's just that's what our brains are made to do, right? If you look
so
at
true.
you see plants and shit, right? Your brain is gonna go, "That's a plant." Oh, this is a green leafy thing. Oh, it's a plant. You see an animal running around.
Right.
It's an animal, dude. You start to categorize, and that's on a very simple.
No,
I'm
that's
talking about, but
dude,
it happens at a very.
It's not that simple. It's actually pretty. You're actually describing pretty complex, and I'm dead serious. It's another shameless plug. I have a publication on that called "The Effects of Schemata on Bias-Based Policing," and it's basically me saying why police.
first, you
racial
gotta
profile.
define schemata. I know my audience.
He just defines schemata. He just
Okay.
did. So it's basically it's that level.
I know
We
my
have
audience.
ways-
They don't.
We have ways. We walk into a room and we say, I'm saying, okay, that's a chair or that's a cabinet because there's DVDs and stuff on it. That's a TV because things are playing on it. That's how we categorize stuff in our brain. Police don't wake up, every day. Not the majority of police don't wake up and say, I'm gonna go find me a black motherfucker and beat his ass. That's just not what they do. What they do is they go into the neighborhood and they say, and they don't even realize it, but their brain is saying, the TV is showing me all these black people
thugs.
committing crime.
That's what
thugs.
they
And he sees a black person, he's like, oh fuck, that's a criminal not because that's how he feels, but because that's what a schemata has developed.
But so with that is the
He's not conscious of it.
But that's the overall, and so like with that, if we go into the thing that happened at Starbucks,
Right.
and
dude. All right,
That-
hey, for our listeners that don't know, because I don't know what happened at Starbucks.
all right, at Starbucks,
I just seen Starbucks memes.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
what happened.
So at Starbucks, basically the short form of it, two guys went there and wanted to use the restroom. They told them you couldn't use the restroom unless you buy something or something to that effect, or it's for paying customers. So they went and sat down. When they sat down, one of the clerks or someone called the police on them for trespassing. They was arrested for trespassing. So with that,
They were just normal folk. They were just normal folk.
They're
just
real
sitting down.
estate agents.
Now I told, they were young
were they
black
black or
kids.
something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they were
I didn't fucking know. I'm assuming that's where we're going, but they could have been Hajis. Wait, is that a? Oh shit!
I can edit that on the show, but it just went
was that
live.
politically incorrect?
Well, it depends who you ask. I'm not
Hey,
offended by
I
that.
got words in my head.
Johnny Quest. Oh wow.
Hey,
As a veteran,
was
that's a
he
commonly used
Arabic?
term.
Were they Arabic? I mean, I don't know.
Fair
I got
enough,
military
fair
friends.
enough.
I've
I
just
give you
heard that.
But the funny thing about the bigger thing, the joke part of it is, you assume nothing that wasn't white.
Basically, yeah.
So going back to this whole effect
Actually,
thing.
and then I was also thinking about my business. I was like, were they homeless? Because you don't want.
But it
homeless
doesn't
people in
matter.
there.
Right.
Like,
It doesn't
That
matter.
makes sense, yeah.
I mean, I hate to say that, but dude, it's just true.
What?
I mean, if they were like
Homeless?
barely had clothes on, homeless dudes sitting in there.
But even still, like you can be homeless and look like any one of us. and go in
Oh,
there.
100%.
So the thing is, like, the problem, and I was having this conversation with someone before, when I was talking about it before, is that Starbucks made a culture out of people just sitting down and doing whatever.
yeah.
So the fact that you can't say that they're trespassing, if you're saying, okay, and I understand, if you say I can't use your restroom unless I buy a fucking coffee, and that's your deal, cool. But if I go sit down, you really can't be mad, because that's what a lot of people go into Starbucks and do, and that's the culture you created. So how's these two guys trespassing because they decide to sit down?
Right, and here's the bar that has to be set at that point. As a company, they have to set that bar. They have to say every single Starbucks is now going to kick out anybody who doesn't have, and they don't want to do that.
Right.
They don't want to do that. They're not going to do that. So what they do, they fired the guy. Good job.
All right, so now going back to that effect, though. How do you even teach that? Because Starbucks said we're gonna shut down however many stores that have some racial training. But if these things exist, no 24-hour or 8-hour class that you take an employee through is going to change these biases that they have already cultivated with basically their life experiences. Like, your sister isn't going to change with one class to decide that when I see certain inmates to change how I look at them. You have to now you have to restructure and remold that, because that's something that exists in the brain already.
Right.
It's already, like, it's stamped in there until it fades away.
So how do you remold it?
You went back to ground zero. So taking AR-15s away won't fix gun violence, as in an 8-hour racial bias training won't fix racial biases in Starbucks. So how do we fix
it was never to stop gun violence, it's to minimize it.
Right.
So you take away the weapon. In this case, when it comes to people, the weapon is the mind. So if you take a person who has a disposition to a racial bias, to see a black person a certain way, if he has a gun, a knife, a bat, he's still going to approach that situation with the same biases. All that does is give that potential victim a better chance at, hey, hold on, I ain't doing shit, versus the Trayvon Martin thing. Or I shouldn't even say Trayvon Martin, because
is it a predisposition or is it an environmental thing, man? Because
I think they hand in hand. I think they hand in hand.
I think we give too much credit to people's predispositions, man, versus their environment or the environment they came from, like this Kamada thing, going back to that. You know, I think
because I come from a shit environment, and I don't look at Dave any different than other people.
So you're not inherently a bad. You wouldn't, if you're a bad person. Are you inherently a bad person, or are you a bad person because of the environment you came out of? Is what I'm getting at.
You got to define bad first.
Whatever. I mean, however you generally define.
I mean, because I would look at I would have to. You have to almost say environment, because if you take anything out of the womb and you place it in wherever it's going to be, it's going to develop based on its location. Like I say, I'm a Christian because this is where I was born. If I was somewhere else, I probably wouldn't be a Christian. So when people have the religious argument, it's like, I know I feel this way because of where I'm from, so I can't really be upset at a Muslim or a Sheik or anyone else for what they believe, because it's from their environment. So now we have to break down and critically look at religion as a whole versus the different segments of religion. That's how I look at it.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I just, as me, as my nature, my profession, I button press a lot. I pick your brain just to see what you think about it, because it also helps me.
But you said something about the internet.
You guys
how
lost
we got
me
here.
somewhere around Trayvon Martin.
All right. Well,
internet though, man.
You said something about the internet.
I really want to talk about that, because one, that's my whole research realm right now. I've been getting headhunted through LinkedIn